Thanks for tuning in. If you like old trains, please subscribe. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Marklin Hudson. What you see in front of you here, I must confess immediately, this is a reproduction made by Seltzer, probably in the 90s or the 80s, but a fairly faithful reproduction of the Marklin Hudson from 1935-1936. Here we have the catalog illustration here from the 35 catalog, sold for $45. It was able to do a 6-foot circle. We also offered these beautiful passenger cars in two lengths, 16-inch and then also the 20-inch cars. Short cars were around $14, $15, and the bigger cars were $16 to $17.50. And as you can see, it's nicely proportioned, but basically tin. It does have a knob here, which is their electronic selector. We would call it a sticky E unit, but they had this selector here. Tin tender here. You have plugs in the back here, so you could run umbilical cords back to your passenger cars. And that's what this cord is here. Nicely done. Now, Marklin, in 1936, they offered the engine again, but now they upped the price to $50, and they only offer the big cars. They don't offer the small cars, and they upped the price to $20 on these cars. So these are quite rare. Marklin gets credit for the first American Hudson that was actually produced. So here in September 1931, this time the Hudson was only 2 years old, the Voltham Company of America is going to be developing the K4 and the New York Central Hudson and Pullmans, all in O gauge. Well, this was Richard Marklin's company. He wanted a name that sounded a little less German. At that time, the Americans had a memory, and they remembered everything they wanted to know about World War I. So Richard Marklin approached Boucher to get this name. The problem is Boucher didn't own that name, and the Voltham Company down in Baltimore gave him a cease and desist letter, so he went back to the using the name of Marklin. But in September 31, it's the Voltham Company of America announcing the engines, and here we have December, same company. Now we have examples of the Hudson, and it was a smaller engine. It wasn't quite like this. It was a little bit shorter and a smaller tender. But that was in 1931. Very few of those exist. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a chronological order of kind of what was happening here, apples to apples. So the Marklin Hudson kind of has its own little mystique. Again, this one dates to 35. It's a copy of the 1935 one. But let's compare it to, say, back here, the Mascot, made in France in 1928. Also center third rail, but as you can see, a much, much finer example of a model than the tin Marklin. So let's pull this up here, and that the Mascot, that's 1928, so that's quite advanced. And then we come up here, again the Marklin, and here we have the New York Society engine that was introduced in 1933. This was sold as a kit. They handed you some castings, and there was instructions, and there was several articles in Model Craftsman that you could follow along and kind of interpret whatever Hudson you want to make. These are quite rare. Not very many of these were made. And let's continue on the track here. 1934, and there's our Marklin Hudson. 1934 in America here. This is the My Loco. This was introduced by Lee B. Green. This is sand cast in aluminum. This was done for a display example, so it's all decked out. It's 17/64. So the Marklin Hudson's a little bigger than a 1/4 inch, but not quite big as 17/64. This engine sold for roughly around $50 as a screw-together kit, much easier kit than the other engine, and ready-built would be somewhere around $70. Again, that's in 1934, 35, and 36. Now we come up here, This is a Fred Icken engine, Hudson. This is 1/4 inch. This would be introduced around 34 to 35, but this engine ready to run would set you back around $200, so it was quite expensive. 2-rail, or in this case outside 3rd rail, which is very popular at the time in America. You need at least an 8-foot circle, whereas the Marklin here was happy with a 6-foot circle. And you can see these two engines pair to pair. This is a 1/4 inch, so slightly smaller than the Marklin, which is scaled a little bit larger. So thank you very much for watching. Other videos will show the other engines running. One more pass with the Marklin. Thank you very much for watching.